Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder, RunBlogRun. This is our program, Socialing the Distance. Today we're featuring Mike Beaudreau, and he is a Clemson University alum, and his heart and soul and mind are involved in saving Clemson cross country and track and field. Mike, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we just talked to Cameron Jones, another person working on this fine battle to save the track program. How did you find out about the change in status at Clemson for track and field?
Well, we found out, I guess it was 4 Thursdays ago.
Wow.
Text from an athlete that I coached for 5 years, including last year during the kind of the COVID times, who runs up there at Clemson. Being an alum like myself, I was concerned, obviously, as soon as he texted me, and then we had a really heart-to-heart of let's process things and let's give things time to just kind of figure out exactly what's going on here. I could hear the emotion in his voice. As an alumnus of the school, it was very hard for me to hear. I went from being kind of emotional to being kind of angry as the week went on. Sort of like the stages of grief. I was kind of along that paradigm, if you will. And that was interesting, to say the very least.
You guys have now assembled a group of alums, of current athletes, of interested students. How do you view what's happened at Clemson?
The word that comes to mind is travesty. I mean, it's really a travesty to be taking a program that is consistently on the cross-country side, APR of 1,000 nearly every year. So they're making their annual progress reports, the highest team GPA of virtually any team on campus year after year. A lot of those guys are engineering majors too. So
wow.
They're taking a tough class load. So if there's ever a team that is sort of the way a student athlete is supposed to be, which is student first, athlete second,
sure.
They're living those ideals, if you will. And on the track side of things, obviously the program speaks for itself. The track record is incredible, no pun intended. Olympians produced, all Americans, and then just consistently great people. We've got different teams organized of alums that are doing different functions. And I can't believe the amount of lawyers and other business people that have come out of the track program is incredible, absolutely incredible.
Now, the head coach is Mark Elliott.
Yes, sir.
Is he the 800-meter runner from years ago?
He's actually the LSU 5,000-meter record holder. So
okay, all right, different kid, but I'll check out. I'll look him up. That's cool. That's great to know.
Yep. He's a Cajun. He's down there in Cajun country back in the day.
Have you got to talk to him at all about his feelings about all of this, or is he just devastated right now?
Well, I can imagine he's kind of processing a lot of the same things the guys were, because from what I gather, he found out the same time they did, approximately an hour ahead of time. I had also got a courtesy call from the athletic director's office. One of his employees called me out of courtesy almost exactly the same time as his team meeting was going on, because I had started to talk about an endowment program there, a project, for the cross-country program back in the early spring, because COVID had just started. And I just had this feeling in my gut that, my goodness, when tough times come, decisions get made. And I just felt like we probably need to have those discussions. So we started a dialogue. So I also found out at the same time from the athletic department, if you will, one of the employees there called me to give me a courtesy. So, but Coach Elliott, I have not talked to him. Out of respect for him. I feel like he's probably busy trying to coach his team and then process what's going on. So I'm going to give him the latitude he deserves.
Now, you are part of the guiding force behind Save Clemson cross country and track and field. What are you guys trying to achieve? How are you getting information out?
Yeah, great question. I'm just one of the cogs in the wheel. We've got so many great alums and parents and students that have stepped up to help lead this effort. So this is by no means a small effort done by myself or anybody else. We're all part of the cog in the wheel, if you will. we've kind of moved along a process. The first was really an awareness campaign, building awareness up of what's going on, what's taking place, and then an awareness of our programs and how successful they've been. I mean, a lot of folks already knew that already, but some of the building up some awareness campaigns at the Board of Trustees, even presidential level, and then some of the staff and faculty too. So that was the first phase. And now we're really moving on to more of a call to action, if you will, where we're really asking that folks take our information they've learned, some of the national press that's occurred, thanks to you, and a lot of great media outlets have come to our aid and been great resources to just tell our story, if you will. And so now we're hoping over the next really week or two to have a call to action and really be able to sit down and figure out how to move forward productively. Important note is that we're not trying to say that we know everything, that's for sure, but we certainly want to be part of the solution. And that's what we're asking for, is for both programs to be reinstated, all three of them, under the track and field, cross-country umbrella, to be reinstated. And then let the alumni and let some of us step up and see how we can be helpful as we move forward, because we want to see the programs do better anyways.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, now the athletic director is Dan Radakovich?
Radakovich, yes, sir.
Okay. He was at Georgia Tech before this, correct?
He was indeed. He's been in several stops because he's had a illustrious career where obviously he's learned the trade as he moved up. He was also at University of South Carolina approximately 20 years ago when they discontinued their men's cross country program, by the way.
Yeah, he also did the program at Georgia Tech when he cut that back too.
My understanding is he did. Yeah, I got kind of a warning about a year ago from some friends I have down there about, hey, y'all better watch out.
Yeah.
And of course, you just never know in the recruiting business when it comes to athletes exactly what is said and what's always the truth, which is usually in the middle. But obviously in this particular case, those words were heated.
Now you're a high school coach?
I am in Georgia. Yep. I'm the treasurer of the Georgia Cross Country and Track Coaches Association.
Cool. Where do you coach at?
Well, I'm private coach now. I spent 6 years at Hebron Christian Academy over in Tequila, Georgia, where we had our run of four state championships, 2 on the cross country side and 2 on the track side.
Cool.
I've got a young family and a pretty growing business, so it pulled me into more of a private coaching scenario, if you will. I love coaching young people, and that's why I even got a little club team now that I work with of both alumni and then some high school and then some even pre-high school level. So we're sort of diversifying, if you will.
Well, that's really cool. That's great. I encourage that, and I salute you for taking the time to do that.
Thank you.
Let's talk about I just watched the video that you guys put together, and it pulls no punches. It's very well done. The information is quite accurate. It's either going to get people to support you or get people to get annoyed. And unfortunately, that's just the world we live in. The approach that I've been taking, and when I talked to Cameron reminded me that 92% of African American male athletes compete in either basketball, football, or track and field. And actually, football, track, and field are the places where the biggest numbers are. And track and field is actually the biggest numbers that give young African American men a chance to get an education and a chance to see how good they are. And the AD at Clemson has been quoted as saying that this is nothing racial. And I went and watched a couple videos from President Clemens and also a couple things from Radakovich. And, race isn't an issue, but how can it not be when you take the team that offers the African Americans the biggest opportunity to go to school at Clemson? Because only 6% of the kids at Clemson are African American, and the state of South Carolina is about 26%?
Yes, sir.
So it's kind of interesting. How do you think you guys can successfully approach bringing the program back? William and Mary There was a battle there. University of Minnesota, there was a battle there. There has been challenges on trying to cut men's track programs as the answer to everybody's financial woes at several schools recently. How would you address that?
Well, I mentioned earlier, we kind of were going through different phases. The first was an awareness campaign, if you will. Now it's more of a call to action. And part of that, total campaign is just really being very clear in our direction. And that is that we're not backing down. This is not a 1 week type exercise or a 3 week exercise. We're prepared to battle as long as it takes to get the situation rectified like it should be. I think that anybody looks at the scenario from the outside, the numbers don't lie. Mm-hmm. It's disproportionately affecting Black men.
Yeah.
It's bigger than that. It really is. I mean, if you take a look at the program as a whole with cross country, you've got all those young men that essentially are non-scholarshiped. Not a single one of those has athletic dollars. Mm-hmm. And so you have a group of young men that had their best season in 5 or 6 years with no athletic scholarship support. It was pretty amazing what they accomplished.
Wow.
And they're young. They're young. That team is still up and coming. So I say all that to tell you that it's a total package, and that we're very, very we've got a firm plan of what to accomplish. Sure, we've definitely talked to the folks at William & Mary. They've been very, very helpful, very, very helpful. But at the same token, Clemson has a different makeup and a different story to tell. Being an alumnus like myself, that place helped me grow as a man. Get too emotional about it, but it really did. And that for that opportunity to be shortchanged in any way towards other people not being able to accomplish that, particularly men of yet less means, demographically, whatever color they are, it's flat out wrong. It's wrong in every sense of the word. So we're very, very firm in making sure that folks understand that we want to come as a solution partner to this, but we're not backing down, not 1 inch.
All right, I'm going to throw probably a different question at you and than probably anybody else has. So I'm going to make you the athletic director for the day. And you have a $2 million shortfall, let's just say, and you're battling Title IX. How would you approach this without taking the cross country, without decimating the men's track and field program? How else would you do this?
That's a great question. And it's funny, you didn't ask earlier, but I come from a unique background. I served 2 terms in office, elected office down here in Gwinnett County, Georgia, a pretty large county, about 1 million folks now. And so I happened to be in office in 2004 to 2012. About 2 or 3 of those years were the Great Recession.
Sure.
So, I've actually sort of been in similar, not the same, of course. Every situation's different. But something we really prided ourselves on in that situation was bringing stakeholders in, first of all, to be consultative. In other words, to be, to really work on what are the priorities, and then how do we, given the circumstances as they are, how do we craft a solution that does not do permanent damage to a temporary situation? That's what's happened at Clemson. You've got a obviously devastatingly bad decision made on really short-term type challenges, especially economically and financial-wise. Title IX, we're in very good shape. Dan would tell you that. Mr. Radakovich would say that right now. Mm-hmm. He's convinced he should be about the future. So as an athletic director, what I would do, I'd bring the different stakeholders in, explain the situation, be very truthful to it, very, very blunt. Here are the numbers, guys and gals. They don't lie. How can we accomplish what I think we all want to accomplish without with the least amount of damage, if you will, to folks that are involved? And so what I would do, to be specific, is I would really take a look at, again, prioritizing. Maybe you look at some roster sizes. Maybe you look at, as an example, where are you recruiting folks from? Maybe focus more of our attention on a recruiting footprint around South Carolina and Georgia. I mean, there's a lot of track and cross-country talent right here. On the cross-country, obviously the expense is extremely low because there's essentially no scholarships on the guys' side at all. The ladies, I heard, have a few, but again, I'm not privy to those numbers. But either way, my point is perhaps focus a little more domestically, particularly closer in, because there's plenty of talent here. That'll keep your scholarship expense to be less. And then what I would do is also talk to the students. Dan Radakovich for many years has been trying to get a student athletic fee passed. by the students. We're one of the few schools, my understanding, in the Power Five, if the only one that doesn't have one at all. So ask for them to try to think about, again, a long-term solution to that. And then the final piece is alumni and an endowment type program where we could really take a look at raising some funds and then using that to help augment the start of another ladies sport, maybe like a women's lacrosse, where you could bring a large amount of ladies in, relatively speaking, for a fairly small expense. Softball, we just started softball last year. The program is doing fantastic before COVID hit. I've got a couple folks I know that have daughters that play there, play on the program. My point is this can be accomplished. Some of the specifics, of course, I'm not even privy to some of the numbers that the athletic director would be, but I can assure you, if we put all of us together around a conference table, we can get a lot of it accomplished. But there has to be a consultative type approach taken.
Sure. If you were talking to the Board of Trustees, how would you approach them right now about saving Clemson men's cross country and track, and why it's important to the university?
Well, first of all, I've learned a lot of things in this process, Stanley. I had no idea how far back the track and field and cross country programs went. I mean, Strom Thurmond, who ran for president in 1948, was the captain of the cross country and track and field teams.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's a trivia thing that I will be putting out.
Yes, sir. He was a captain, and he apparently ran like a 20-mile race or some kind of fundraiser type race all the way to Columbia one time. And his time was pretty impressive for 20 miles. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I want to say it was somewhere around 2.5 hours, which, back then, who knows what kind of footwear and things they're wearing. But what we've discovered as our group has explored this issue and studied up is how historical in nature this program is. We're not talking about a bottom of the rung type of program that's always in last place. Yeah. Historic cross country, we've won 7 ACC championships on the guys side in cross country. On track and field, been equally, if not more successful. Produced 4 Olympic gold medalists, countless Olympians from different countries, by the way, not just domestically, but also throughout other countries. If you look at it over again, as I talk to the Board of Trustees, because we've done that, I have some relationships that I had as a student there on campus, and so I've been trying to rekindle some of those relationships. But all of our parents, alumni, students have been talking to different board members as we can get a hold of them, of course. And our message has been very, very consistent, which is it's a personal story. Everybody involved with that program, comes from a different point of view. You should hear some of the stories, and hopefully we'll get a chance to share those with you in the days moving forward, of some of our individual athletes and their journey to. I mean, if you hear this stuff, it's incredibly inspiring. How hard these people have worked to get the opportunity to represent the school that I was fortunate enough to go to and graduate from. It's awe-inspiring. It really is. And so my message to our Board of Trustees as we talk to them is that give us a shot here. Let us have a seat at the table so we can try to be a partner in this project together, and not to have to be adversarial, and certainly not to be dismissive. And so far, our discussions have been very fruitful with board members. Is that they're very open to that suggestion. They appreciate my experience kind of in the political realm of doing that, and others too that are much more wise than I am. And so we're optimistic about the future, but at the same token, want to be very clear, we're going to do what's required to get our program back. And if that means educating people on the numbers, what they are, the numbers are what the numbers are, whether it comes to race dynamics, demographically speaking, and then the successes of the program.
What has been the reaction of Mr. Radakovich and his AD management team? Well, I know I've had several of the parents reach out and either had in-person meetings or over a Zoom type format, and then of course some email correspondence. And my understanding is Mr. Radakovich has been more than gentlemanly. He's not new to the business, if you will. He's been at this for a while, and so he comes across very sincere, and we all appreciate that. I want him to understand that this is, again, we're trying to come in a positive type formulation here. We're not trying to be adversarial. At the same token, folks need to understand, and I'm repeating myself, I know,
is that we're very, very resolute and serious in our stature. We're not backing down 1 inch because we're in the right here. It's a righteous cause, if you ask me. It'd be one thing if these teams were not performing well academically. But as I mentioned, year after year after year, the guys cross-country team has some of the highest, if not the highest GPA every single time. And and then on the track and field side, they're not doing badly either on that side. Plus their athletic accomplishments and sportsmanship too. I mean, a couple of our students have been awarded sportsmanship awards by the ACC for acts of heroism, if you will, in meets where they've carried runners across the line. We had a guy this year finish the race, went back and carried a young man, I think it was from Virginia, across the finish line. Wow. I mean, these are fine people, young people, and they don't deserve, they've had a tough enough year with COVID, like a lot of folks have. And this is just another kick in the gut to these people, young folks, student athletes.
When, was there any rumor that this decision was going to be made, or when it hit, was it just like, boom?
No, I mean, I made sure in the early spring, as I started these discussions about endowment and started reaching out to some of our alumnus and stuff to try to build up a consensus of what we wanted to try to help with the university and with the athletic program. I asked, of course, that very question several times because my gut was telling me to be careful because of the reputation of what had occurred at other schools, quite frankly, but also knowing that it was going to probably be an economically constraining environment coming up in the not too distant future. We didn't know, of course, in February, March, April timeframe how long this was going to go on for with this awful virus. But at the same token, I was obviously concerned about it. So and on a private note, I wouldn't have recommended a young man I coached for 5 years that's like a son to me. I would have never recommended that he go to Clemson, his dream school, quote unquote. That he didn't get in coming out of high school. He had to go to run at West Georgia for a year first, and he did a great job with his grades. He didn't even get in until about a week and a half to 2 weeks before the school started. That's how close it was. And I had to lean on a friend of mine that I went to Clemson with that owns some real estate there to help us find him a place at the last minute. I mean, we scrambled. And we had a really good season. He was 6th on the team at one of their 3 meets. They only ran 3 meets. Had a fine season. So I would have never in a million years, recommended to a young man that they go there if I had any inclination that they were going to try to cut our program. I have to believe that there was a confluence of reasons why that Mr. Radico, this is the route to go. But I can assure him, and I think he's hopefully loud and clear. Optically, it's not good on the racial composition side of things, but also practically speaking, it's not what Clemson's about. I mean, when I hear the stories about how parents feel betrayed and things of sending their kids to school down there, and then this happens to them, it tears my heart to pieces. I mean, I cannot tell you the tears I've shed the last couple weeks. It has been emotionally draining for everybody. But I tell you what, those tears are going to grow plants. We're not just we're just not going to wither away. We're growing stronger in our resolution to make sure this gets rectified.
How has the local media been supportive? Newspapers, radio, TV, or the?
Yeah, I mean, we've got several great local partners. We've got a young lady heading up our media team that's a student at the school. As a matter of fact, the sister of one of the freshman runners is helping us head. So the background that I come from in the business world too is we're trying to use this as an opportunity to grow opportunities for young people to learn, if you will, on the ground in an experience like this. So I just always believe we'd be training folks up to be the next generation. So it's, I look at it as an opportunity for some folks to step up and have a chance to really grow in a role they may not have thought they could do before. So you're seeing our media team. My point is we have a young lady that heads up our media team that's working well with our university paper as well as the paper, some papers in Anderson, the state, WIFF, ASPA, I believe it was out there at the rally we had Saturdays ago. So, but I do think there's still more awareness to be go. I mean, we're still actively soliciting opportunities because let's be honest. I mean, in the South particularly, football is king, and that's what rules the media attention in so many ways. And so, if we're in the running business, we understand we don't do it for all the glory. There's not people every time we take a step like there is in a football game. So what that does, though, is it builds character in these young people where they're a little tougher, I think, and able to deal with some things that get fired at them. But at the same token, this year, some of these people had their spring semester of their senior year cut short with COVID, and now this happens.
Yeah.
It's been a lot for these young people to bear. So we're trying as parents and alumni to step in and try to fill as many of those voids as possible.
Right. I have a question for you. What do you think the long-term effects of decisions like these can have? So the idea of cutting back cutting the men's program out, and the justification that Mr. Redikovich has is that the $2 million in costs are saved, but also he's dealing with possible Title IX things in the future. What about the students that don't come to the university? What about the future potential leaders that don't come to the university because there's not an offering of a track program?
I mean, as I've met so many alumni that have come from different backgrounds and are also pursuing different career paths, I had no idea how successful, quote unquote, but really just how much track and cross country have learned and nurtured these young people's journey. As a coach, you think you know a lot of stuff about high school, but these are folks that went through college. So
sure.
Gratifying to me is to see how much they still feel a connection back to that 400-meter low oval that's taught them so many lessons. And in cross country, it's all the courses they run on. They can still remember the ACC championships and who they passed at the end, and slapping their buddy on the backside to get them because they were the fifth guy and trying to get them to move up. But it's bigger than that. This decision, unfortunately, would have ripple effects nationwide. If it happened at Clemson with our $130-something million athletic budget, it can happen anywhere. Let's be completely honest about this.
Yeah.
So that's why, again, there's no drawing of a line in the sand, so to speak. We are firm in our resolution that this is going to get fixed. Now, are we going to try to be a partner in fixing it? Absolutely. We don't expect, we don't expect things to just mysteriously, vanish or all problems disappear. By the same token, though, we understand that we have a larger cause here. It's more than just Clemson. It's across the whole country, kind of the war on running, if you will. And if you think about running, it's the most egalitarian sport there is. Folks have an opportunity to participate in it without having access to extra soccer lessons or football equipment or things of that nature. This is a sport that, and I heard this from story after story of young people that pulled themselves up by the bootstraps, so to speak, through the chance to further their career with running, at a collegiate experience. So, and then on a Clemson note, as an alumnus, as I mentioned earlier, we're better than this. We're absolutely better than this. Is not Clemson.
Yeah.
This is absolutely not. Anybody that was a graduate from Clemson, if they were the athletic director, would not make this decision. I can assure you. This is not a Clemson decision. And so it's our job as alumnus and supporters to make sure that we rectify it.
We're getting down to about 5 minutes to go, and I think you've articulated your concerns really, really well. But I'm going to ask you to, what would you like our readers to do to support the Save the Clemson Cross Country and Track and Field program?
There's a couple key things. One is to, join our supporter list. We've got a link tree that if y'all could put that link up there, that'd be wonderful. And that gives us a chance to keep folks updated, our stakeholders, if you will, updated on how we are making progress and where we need help. So that's the first thing to do, is just simply get on there. It takes about 20 seconds to fill out the little form. And then we've got a really good website that, of course, is part of that process. We're of course, doing email campaigns and phone call campaigns. We've had the march. The biggest thing is really try to involve the running community around you. Because as you referenced, this is not just a Clemson-centric issue. This has a chance to be an extremely destructive decision across the entire, really, world. When you think about how many elite athletes come from other countries to participate in track and field in the United States, and a lot of them follow the collegiate route, this would be an opportunity lost to just literally hundreds and maybe probably thousands of athletes all around the world, if not tens of thousands. So that's where we're asking folks to really get their local running community plugged in with our supporters list. Mm-hmm. Really good, very active LinkedIn, campaign that we're running as well. as well as Facebook. And so we're tweeting out lots of folks and lots of supporters, and it's been gratifying to see some of the support nationwide. Folks like Carl Lewis are fully on board, and he's upping his profile, if you will, and activity helping us out. Sure. Many athletes on the cross country side of things. You know, we've got very great partners at Flow Track, if you will, a mile split. Because one of our runners, Ryan Fenton, ran at Clemson.
I remember. I know Ryan. Yeah, good guy.
The guys, everybody loves listening to Ryan announce, right? One of his famous announcements he's done on some of these track races over the years and cross country races. Well, he's a Clemson alum, and so
cool.
You know, he's pitching in where he can, of course. It's really a team effort. So folks that want to get plugged in, I can assure you, if you just fill out a little supporter form for us, we're going to get you plugged in very, very quickly. That's sort of my job, is to sort of be the air traffic controller and try to make sure we involve people in whatever role we us out with.
Well, talk to me about the March protest walk. You guys had a walk?
Yeah, that was all student organized. The parents and alumni, we got some shirts printed up for everybody. We all pitched in some money to buy some Black Unity and then Save Clemson cross country track and field shirts. It was 200 and some odd folks were out there. And the young people student athletes did a great job. We had athletes from other sports. I understand volleyball was out there, maybe basketball, some young ladies out to support us. Because remember, this is, I want to stress this is not just a men's cross country track and field issue. Women are going to be disproportionately affected, because when you're cutting away the men's part of the program, you're losing coaches and you're losing their family. Let's be perfectly honest with you. The best teams, as you're well aware, are close-knit families. So the ladies have been very helpful in trying to make sure that the folks understand that made this decision, that they're extremely upset and that they're prepared to take action as well. And they are taking action, helping us, with proper demonstrations. So the march went fantastic. We marched through downtown up to the president's house, right along College Avenue, and then Highway 93 right there in front of the school, right in front of Bowman Field. And we stuck our signs up there on the president's porch because he wasn't home after we rang the doorbell. And it was beautifully decorated. I mean, President Clemens is a fine man and a fine family, and they did a great job of decorating the place. So we felt like, well, we should decorate it some more and help them, make it more fall before. We left some signs. We left some signs for a couple of folks said a few words, including Russ Jenkins, who's of course been a huge help with us in this endeavor. I said a very quick couple words on behalf of the alumni, just to let the student athletes know that we had their backs 125%. And then the student athletes did a great job of articulating, including Cam, by the way, exactly what's decision meant to them and how we're going to make sure we get it fixed. So we had some great press partners out there that helped, take video of it and take some pictures. So it was really a great day, because I think a lot of the student athletes, that was their first chance to really, really do something constructive in their minds. And so they got a chance to get out there and march and chant unity slogans, and it was a great effort all the way around.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time today. And we will send people to the websites, and we'll be following and be posting. I'm going to post your video up on our Twitter sites and also on RunBlogRun today. And again, thank you for your time and support of Save Clemson cross country and track and field. I really appreciate it.
We thank you for the opportunity to help us get our message out. We can't thank you enough how important it is to have our partners out in the media to help us really articulate our message on a nationwide and even international type perspective. So thank you very much.
Hi, Mike. Thank you. This is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun. This is our program, Socialing the Distance. Today we're featuring Mike Beaudreau, and he is an alum of Clemson University, and he is helping fight the good fight to save Clemson cross country and track and field. Mike, thank you very much. Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder, RunBlogRun. This is the epilogue for Socialing the Distance, and we just featured Mike Beaudreau, who is an alum at Clemson University. He is a cross-country and track coach. Now he's a private high school coach, and he is part of the growing group of alums, current athletes, students, and fans of the sport who are fighting to save Clemson University's cross-country and track and field programs. I think you'll find his approach very thoughtful. He, as Cameron Jones uses being a current student and very articulate in his own right to approach the needs of the current athletes. Mike talked about how this will affect the future, how this will affect Clemson University, how this will, as affecting the current athletes, but most importantly, that this is a growing, consistent, supportive approach to challenge this decision, and they will not stop until they bring Clemson men's cross country and track and field back. Mike Beaudreau also noted something else, that this will affect women as well, because track and field and cross country is a family, and the kids you were closest with were the young men and women on your team. It'll also affect the women's team because they will lose coaches and they will lose opportunities. It's a really poorly thought out decision. On one level, Mr. Radakovich, who nixed a cross country program at another university and emasculated another track and field program at another university as well, I believe Georgia Tech. So I think he thinks that this is the way to do it. And he seems like a man of conviction from what I've understood. So I think that the challenge for everybody is, how do you figure out what his currency is? What is he really trying to do with getting rid of track and cross country on the men's side? Is he trying to protect from future attacks by Title IX? Is he trying to save $2 million when he's down 25? Why won't he look at alums coming in and endowing? And why do they say something ridiculous like a $60 million endowment so he doesn't have to worry about anything? It's because cross country and track and field are not profit making. Yet they're one of the three sports and the second biggest sport for young black men to participate in universities. It's football, track and field, and basketball. And track and field gives more opportunities, most of them non-scholarship, but more opportunities for young men to participate and to go to the university. So they've got to do it the old-fashioned way. They've got to do well in school. So those are the things to think about. We think this is a growing program, and we're asking all of our readers to support Save Clemson track and field and cross country. That's the hashtag Save Clemson. I think it's TFXC. Check out their Facebook, check out their website. They're brilliantly done. We're going to be posting the video that they just put up, and it doesn't pull any punches. I mean, it's a very good video, and it puts the challenge of what they're dealing with right in front of you. So Save Clemson cross country and track and field. That's the key. Thanks to Mike Beaudreau. He was very articulate for his cause, and there was emotion that was there too, and that means a lot. He's a thoughtful man. I guess he's an IT guy as well as a private coach, but he loves Clemson University, and it changed his life, and he wants the opportunities to change other people's lives. This is Larry Eder with Socialing the Distance. We just featured Mike Beaudreau. He's a Clemson alum. He's involved in his heart and soul and mind with Save Clemson track and field and cross country. Have a great day. If you like RunBlogRun, like us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you love us, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.